Well, hey, rail fans and model railroaders. Welcome back to another episode of Getting Back on Track with Steve
and Roxy. So now that we've got all the cork laid for the lower and final loop, we can finally start laying that track into place.
So that means we need to get out the soldering iron. We're going to solder some pieces together. We're going to cut and fit the track and get it in place. So then we can go ahead and use our adhesive to put it down.
We're going to start at the top of the peninsula and see if we can't work our way all the way around to the swing bridge.
With that being said,
let's get this work done.
So the first order of business is to sand the back edge of our cork before we lay the track, and we want to sand across the upper surface we're going to put the track on to make sure it's smooth and flat. We want to minimize any kind of bouncing and bumping when the trains are running to not derail. The next thing we're going to do is solder our track together. So everywhere that we have straight sections, we'll just join them up and we're going to solder, and we're going to do every third joint. I'm going to leave a space to allow for expansion. We want to make sure that after we solder, we clean them up real good. And then on our flex track, we're going to stagger the joints so that we don't end up with a kink at the joints as we bend the track. Now that we have our soldered track, we're going to apply acrylic latex caulk for our adhesive, and then we'll spread it thin. We grab our first section of flex track, join it up, and start putting it into place. Once we're sure the joints are set correctly, we'll start using thumbtacks to go ahead and pin it down into place and hold it nice and flat. We're going to use lots of thumbtacks because we want to make sure that we get a good flat surface, and it's worked pretty good for us so far. So our Roxy pins, I'm going to go ahead and continue laying our latex caulk out. And she's going to start the next section to lay it down and track it in place. You'll notice this straight section, we haven't staggered the joints. There's no need. And here at the curve, we'll have staggered joints for a couple of flex tracks we joined together. And I'm going to continue laying the caulk for Roxy to keep laying track. So working together, this makes for a pretty fast job. One of the other tools that we use when we're laying track is I cut a piece of luan to fit between the rails so that I could use it to make sure I got everything nice and straight. And so far the curves are looking good, everything's going together well. We're into the next turn leading up to the swing bridge. Now when we get to the swing bridge joint, we're going to go ahead and place a re-railer in there so that as it comes over, if there's any problems with the joint, it pulls the train right back onto the tracks. We did this up on the upper level, and it worked pretty good. So you have a re-railer on each side of the joint, and it makes for some pretty smooth operations. And then the fun begins. Roxy gets to do my favorite part, remove all of the thumbtacks, and then I'll come up behind her and I'll go ahead and clean up the track and get any silicone off. Then the testing. This is our best rolling piece of rolling stock, and it seems to ride along real nice. We're going to test the joints, make sure nothing's kinked, anything that's going to cause derailleur, but it seems to be rolling pretty well. Now, we haven't put any feeder wires on this yet, and we don't know how well the power is going to work, but we're going to try a locomotive and see how we do. It appears with DC power, there's enough power going through these tracks to run this loco pretty easily. Doesn't bog down. It's only a 2% incline. And it went pretty smoothly all the way around. We'll go ahead and reverse it and try in the other direction. This is really pretty awesome having another piece of track that we can run on to get onto this lower loop. This is really going to be fun when we get 3 trains running all at the same time. Perfect. Well, there you go. We got in there, we soldered, cut, fit all of our track, got it down and in place.
We tested it out using one of our tanker cars. It rolled so smooth and nice, especially on the inclines and declines.
Yeah, that was great. So then the next test, we wanted to try it with a locomotive. Now, we haven't put any feeder wires in. We didn't know if we would have enough power to run, but being DC, it worked great. You know, the joiners and the soldering allowed the power to flow through that whole area. So we went all the way up and around and onto the peninsula flawlessly.
So next week, we're going to get the last of that track laid and finally be done with the lower loop. We're going to start at the top of the peninsula, make it all the way around, and finish the swing bridge.
So it'll be great to have a complete lower loop all done so we can move on to the next phase and do our electrical work and isolate that track as well. But in the meantime, you guys have a good time running your trains and working on your railroads.
Hit the bell, like, and subscribe so you're notified of our next video.
And we'll see you back again next week on Getting Back on Track with Steve
And Roxy. Bye, guys.
Bye, all.